Hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining this Ohio Environmental Council webinar. It's part of a larger series of free webinars that we offer. You can check out what we have coming on our website at www.theoec.org/webinars. Again, they are free, so sign up for as many as you like. Coming up on September 9th from 11 to 12:30, we have OEC's Fracking Megabill webinar. So make sure you sign up for that September 9th. Today we will be talking about how to file a verified complaint. It's thanks to our members and partners that we can offer these webinars, providing educational tools for Ohio residents, policymakers, members of the media, and for you to learn about environmental issues impacting your area. The OEC is a membership organization, and our work is funded by people just like you, Ohioans who care about the health of Ohio's communities and environment. If you're a current member, then thank you so much for your support. If you're not, well, please join our team. You can find more information about OEC and about how to become a member, a group member, or a community supporter by clicking the donate button on the right side of our website, which again is www.theoec.org. So thanks again for joining us today. As a reminder, this presentation is being recorded, and you'll receive an email in the next day or so, and the recording will be able to be shared, and any presentation materials used today. So let's get started. My name is Trent Dougherty, and I'm staff attorney and managing director of legal affairs here at OEC, and I direct OEC's William W. Ellis Jr. Ohio Environmental Law Center. Some of you may know OEC and OEC's Environmental Law Center, but for those of you who don't, the Law Center's mission is really threefold. First, it's legal analysis, providing those legal tools and legal research for Ohio Environmental Council's policy programs, our air, water, energy, and legislative programs, as well as providing legal analysis for our members. Secondly, legal advocacy. OEC is in a lot of legal cases, ranging from Public Utilities Commission cases that defend and implement Ohio's Renewable Energy Standard, Energy Efficiency Standard, to cases in state and federal court dealing with wetlands and air pollution. And third, legal education. For the past 10 years, the Law Center has brought in 60-plus law students from around the state of Ohio, creating and forming those green lawyers for the next generation. The OELC, as it says, supports environmental advocacy, legal action, and provides citizens with valuable tools and guidance, such as these, what we're going to talk about in this webinar, which is how to file a verified complaint. But first, let's go for a little morning stroll. Imagine waking up in the morning, bright summer day. You decide to take a leisurely walk. Your walk takes you to a stream that flows through your neighborhood and eventually to a larger river where you and your neighbors get drinking water. The stream where you routinely wade in on days like this, or even cast a fishing pole, although mostly you do so unsuccessfully. You get ready to kick off your shoes and wade in the cool water when you smell an odd odor and see some discoloration upstream. You're not a scientist, but you know that smell and the color of the stream just isn't right. So you decide to walk upstream a little bit more. And as you walk up, you see a pipe spewing out what looks and unfortunately smells just like sewage coming out of an outfall pipe from an adjoining housing development. You say to yourself, something should be done about this. But what? What can you do? Well, there are three options I can think of. You can clench your fists and scream, "Stop doing this," to no one in particular. Or you can take out your cell phone, call someone, perhaps the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, perhaps OEC. Or You go ahead, go back home, and draft a verified complaint. So now your obvious question is, what is a verified complaint? A verified complaint is a mechanism set up by the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency under Ohio law, as you see there, 3745.08, and it allows citizens or even local governments to report alleged violations of Ohio's environmental laws. Laws regarding air pollution, water pollution, solid waste, infectious waste, construction and demolition debris, public water supplies, hazardous waste, or you can complain if a person or a corporation has failed to meet a requirement of a permit or a variance related to any of those issues of Ohio environmental law. So to take our little allegory, this would be a complaint based on Ohio's laws dealing with water pollution. So now you should be asking yourself, why should I, a mere citizen, have to file this complaint? Where is Ohio EPA? Where are their authorities? Where are all my tax dollars going? Well, just like every cop can't always be on every beat, and there'll always be more potential wrongdoers than government inspectors, citizens have the duty to keep watch over their neighborhoods. And that includes environmental and human health implications of activities in their neighborhoods. It's important to be that extra set of eyes to make sure that your neighborhoods are safe, both the environment and human health impacts of what goes on. And it's very, it's not only a duty on us, but it's really put forth in the law to make sure that there are plenty of eyes on those that could have environmental impacts. So take that responsibility seriously, and that's why we encourage the use of these verified complaints. As you can see here, there are three advantages that I see and that we like to focus on. And first is that it's easy. There's no filing fee. It's no cost, low cost. There's no need to be a lawyer. There's no need to have a lawyer, although I would suggest if you have access, at least have one, take a look at your verified complaint, do so. But as I'll talk about through this webinar, there are only a few things you need to make sure are in your verified complaint. It can be drafted as easy as a letter and sent to the Director of EPA. And once you do put that together and send it, it's very effective. Ohio EPA takes these complaints very seriously. And once you submit that verified complaint and it meets the requirements under the law, which I'll talk about, Ohio EPA has to act. They have to complete a thorough investigation and come out with some communication back to you, hopefully in the form of a report saying that they have accepted and this is the action that they're doing in regard to your verified complaint. And they have to do that within 180 days. If they come back and the actions or activities that they are going to do aren't satisfactory to you, or they perhaps say your verified complaint isn't valid, it's appealable, that third bullet point right there. And it's very important that you're able to hold EPA accountable during this verified complaint process by appealing to the Environmental Review Appeals Commission. Now, that's a whole other webinar for a whole other day about the process and procedure with the Environmental Review Appeals Commission, or ERAC. But ERAC is an impartial administrative court that hears appeals of decisions by the Director of Ohio EPA. And just to note here is importance here because it is that mechanism that you're able to follow up on your verified complaint to keep EPA working on your behalf. But as with anything, there are some disadvantages. First, the result is not necessarily immediate. As I said, the Ohio EPA has 180 days to respond to your complaint. In some instances, you will receive the full investigation and report and what Ohio EPA will do next. Other times, you may just get we're working on this, and the investigation is ongoing after that 180 days. Second, it's not impartial. It is the Ohio EPA Director who has the sole discretion to decide whether your complaint has merit, and if so, what actions Ohio EPA will initiate to rectify the problem. However, that is where the appealable part of this comes, remember, to provide you the opportunity to hold EPA accountable. Finally, it's not anonymous. You have to sign the document, and it is a public document. If you do not want the alleged violator to know it was you, the verified complaint may be not the right route for you. The lack of anonymity, however, is important to show the agency that you feel that this is a serious violation and not just a frivolous complaint. So how do you start drafting a verified complaint and get some action going to stop the sewage coming from the housing development in your stream that we talked about? First, as I said, there's no official form that this verified complaint has to be in. Many times it's in the form of a letter to the Director of Ohio EPA. Some folks draft it like a legal pleading, and others somewhere in between. OEC's Verified Complaint Guide can be used as a template, and you can find that on OEC's website. All you need to do is make sure that you include the nuts and bolts required in the Ohio Revised Code. And I'll go through those right now. First of all, the background, or the facts of the situation that drew you to the conclusion that environmental law is being violated. Here you want to be able to paint the picture of what you saw or experienced in a way that shows that there is an environmental problem that needs Ohio EPA's attention. So, for example, let's use our little allegory of walking near the stream as an example. So let's say in this background section you would write that you were walking along, we'll call it Ripple Stream, in Citizensville, Ohio, on August 15th, 2013 at 9 a.m. You were getting ready to step into the water when you smelled an odd aroma and saw a discoloration of the stream. You walked further up the stream and saw what you believed to be raw sewage coming from a pipe into the stream. And that pipe appears to be coming from the Shady Lane housing development off of Main Street and County Road 1. And that's all you need. Here, you are the fact finder for the Ohio EPA. And in doing so, that explanation does its part to tell exactly what happened and why this rose to the level of you filing a verified complaint. But again, as I said, you are the fact finder. You are trying to provide the resources for Ohio EPA to understand that this is an important issue and that they should continue with the investigation. So if you have any, attach any photos or documents that you feel will be helpful. One precaution, however, always take pictures from a public location. Do not trespass. Remember that. It's not important that you have these other documents or other photos, but again, it helps Ohio EPA visualize and see the impact of this, and it very well could maybe speed their process. Secondly is the issue of standing. The code limits the field of those who may file a verified complaint to persons who are or will be aggrieved or adversely affected by a violation that either has occurred, is occurring, or will occur. In this section, you have to answer the simple question of who are you? And a slightly more complex question of how you are, as the code states, adversely affected. I always like to discuss how the aggrieved person either lives, works, or recreates, or a combination of those three in the area where the violation is alleged to have occurred. In our little allegory, you both live near the stream where the pollution is occurring, and you have, and presumably will continue, to recreate in the stream. And again, as I said, the stream which you were walking also goes into a larger stream where you and your community get your drinking water. So add that as well, that downstream impacts to the larger stream will occur, and that you could be adversely affected and your community could be adversely affected by that pollution through your drinking water. Again, that's just utilizing our example to put in there how you are adversely affected. Next, you have to state the violation that has been part of your complaint. Essentially, what Ohio environmental law is being violated. Now, while Ohio EPA would like for you to give them chapter and verse, the Ohio Revised Code section, or the administrative rule that's being violated, you are not, nor should you have to know, that chapter 6111.05 is being violated, or 3745.02 subsection B. All you need to know is that, going back to our example, Ohio EPA regulates water pollution in the state of Ohio. Shady Lane Housing Development is discharging sewage into Ripple Stream in violation of that Ohio's water pollution law, and that Ohio EPA's regulations under that law are also being violated. Simple as that. Just to explain, those are the broad areas that you feel are being violated, and that should spark an investigation by Ohio EPA. You couple that rather broad language with the facts you presented in the background section and the standing section, that should suffice. Now, if you have access or knowledge of the specific law, for example, in this situation, I would cite to Revised Code section 6111.04A1 that no person shall cause pollution or place any sewage or sludge or wastes into waters of the state, as being the law that I would allege Shady Lane was violating. But again, you do not need to be that specific, but if you have those capabilities, you have that access to the actual chapter and verse, definitely put that in. Again, it's all geared towards helping Ohio EPA understand the seriousness of the violation and move forward with a quick and thorough investigation. Finally, you need a conclusion and a verification. Essentially, you just need the verification. I like to put in a conclusion that just expresses in direct terms the urgency of this matter and the seriousness of how you believe this violation is, and that without Ohio EPA's swift action, again in our example, sewage will pollute the stream as well as possibly the drinking water for an entire community. And then the verification part is signed before a notary public, and it's ready to be sent to Ohio EPA. Now, if at all possible, I recommend after you get it signed, notarized, if you have the capabilities, scan those documents and email them to the Director of Ohio EPA. You can find his information on the Ohio EPA website, and then put in the mail the original with the signed and notarized stamped copy. Obviously, also save a copy if you can for yourself, for your own records. The key to scanning and sending via email, the importance of that is just to add an extra layer of making sure that document gets to the right person in a quick manner. You can also, again, this may add some cost to this, but utilize certified mail with return receipt. That way you know it's in the hands of the director. You'll have documentation of that in case you need to file an appeal sometime, or if there is an issue with whether they had received or when they had received your verified complaint. Again, these aren't necessary, but again, as just friendly advice, I suggest doing more than just sending in through regular mail. Couple it with either an email or certified mail. And that should start the process. And that should start, like I said, in a 180-day process by Ohio EPA. The hope is that they can get things done a little quicker, and especially for serious issues, do so. And I'll talk a little bit in a moment about how to maybe spark that from Ohio EPA's side and get them moving a little bit quicker and a little bit more effectively. But first, I want to give you a few examples. So the first of our little examples you see here is what I call OEC's Drainage Ditch Trilogy. Now, a few years back, Ohio Environmental Council filed 3 verified complaints on 3 drainage ditch projects. Now, for those of you not aware of the issue of drainage ditch laws and how they impact water quality, I'll give you a little step back. North, Central, and Western Ohio has experienced both positive and negatives from draining the former black swamp into now rich farmland. The positive is a huge agricultural economy. The negative is the water quality impacts from turning meandering streams into essentially earthen pipes for soil and sediment and other pollutants to go downstream. Now, water on a farm field is bad, so you want to make sure that water gets off and out of the field as quickly as possible. To do that, many areas and many counties utilize Ohio's ditch laws, which predate the Clean Water Act and Ohio's water quality laws. However, there are obvious implications when you have essentially taking streams that meander, and through that meandering help stave off some of that pollution moving downstream, collect sediment in areas, and not allow it to go downstream to other larger rivers that can impact water quality, much like, as I mentioned with our little allegory, could go downstream and impact water quality in areas. So again, with these drainage ditch projects and many of them having large environmental footprints that could really impact water quality, both for those creeks and downstream larger rivers, we filed these verified complaints a few years back. As you see here, the three: Minnow Creek, which is up in Sandusky near the Sandusky River, Bee Run in Marion County, which that picture is of, which drains into the Olentangy River, and then Pike Run in Allen County, which I believe flows into the Ottawa River. So we filed these three verified complaints, and with these projects alleging that they needed to have permits from Ohio EPA before constructing such a large and possibly detrimental project. The results of these verified complaints were positive in their own right. Each of the complaints were thoroughly inspected by Ohio EPA, and a full report on each of these was submitted well within that 180-day time frame. It was very, again, we commend Ohio EPA on their actions on these three. Very difficult, and for Ohio EPA, very novel impacts. They had not, to that point, really exerted a lot of their enforcement on these drainage ditch projects. But from these verified complaints, they did, and they have since then. So first we'll talk about the one in Sandusky County, Minnow Creek Ditch Project. That verified complaint came back and said that the project, although it did have a very large environmental footprint and could be detrimental, because of actual activities that occurred years ago. Actually, the city cemented the mouth of Minnow Creek going into Sandusky River. Because of those activities, it really, the ditch project wouldn't have added any more pollution that isn't already there, and that there wouldn't be any further degradation from this project. So they were allowed to move forward with the project as they had planned. Now, while it's a loss in one respect, it actually does show that the process worked. Moving on to the one in Bee Run, again, following a thorough investigation from Ohio EPA, it actually resulted in a report by Ohio EPA saying, yes, OEC, this project has a huge environmental footprint. It is not designed in a way to protect water quality for the Olentangy River or even farther downstream. And Ohio EPA required the county, who has the authority to get these drainage projects up and going, that the county had to file for a Clean Water Act permit if they wanted to move forward with the project as presented, or change the project so that it's not as detrimental to water quality. Well, it was a good result, we felt, positive result when it comes to the process of verified complaints. However, the county, I believe, is still fighting after so many years that determination by Ohio EPA, even to the point of saying that the Olentangy River isn't, and Bee Run isn't under the Ohio EPA's jurisdiction. We disagree with that, and we, again, support Ohio EPA sticking firm there on their results of that verified complaint. The third, Pike Run in Allen County, had the same recommendation after the investigation, full investigation, as with Bee Run, that the project would result in too much degradation to the water quality, both of Pike Run and downstream rivers. So Ohio EPA said you either get permits or you change the way that this project is so it doesn't have that water quality impact. Ohio EPA actually, from that verified complaint, was able to work with Allen County to change the project in a way where you didn't have that impact to water quality. So again, those are three very good examples of how the process works and how the process can work well. However, there are instances where a verified complaint does not go well. While OEC's verified complaint here in the second big bullet there, Shawnee Forest Burn, is not an OEC verified complaint. It was a complaint by one of OEC's member organizations and as well as an OEC member individual down in Scioto and Adams County concerning prescribed burns in Shawnee State Forest conducted by the Department of Natural Resources for one particular year, and the negative air pollution impacts from ODNR's burning of what is essentially hundreds of acres of trees and a lot of other things living within the forest. In that situation, the agency, I believe, did come back within the 180 days, but near the end of the 180 days, and saying that they're still looking into this and investigating. In the meantime, DNR had conducted further burns in the subsequent year, and I'm not sure whether this has been this verified complaint has been completely resolved, at least to the satisfaction of the organizations that filed the verified complaint. And I believe those organizations were forced to file an appeal before the Environmental Review Appeals Commission. So again, that shows that it doesn't always work perfectly. However, there is that ability to make it appealable that hopefully will help resolve this in a satisfactory way. But again, have in mind that it's not all perfect, but the process does work. But again, you have this issue of a possible long waiting game. However, I'll give you a few helpful pointers in perhaps getting the most out of your verified complaint and providing an opportunity where you can both maybe spark Ohio EPA to understand the importance of and the seriousness of the violation you allege, as well as making sure they conduct a quick and thorough investigation. And to do so, a couple helpful pointers here, things that I like to do, and OEC likes to put together when they're doing verified complaints on their own or assisting others. One, copy your state senator and representative. Again, it is important for two reasons. One, to show that you are doing this for not only protection of you and your property and how you are adversely affected, but also how your community is, and that your state senator and state representative need to know this and need to perhaps be a part of this and assist you with shepherding your verified complaint along. Sometimes your best friend in this situation is your state senator, state representative, to follow up with Ohio EPA to make sure that they have all the information that they need to do a thorough investigation, and also to make sure they do a quick and effective investigation. Also, couple it with some media if you can. Write a letter to the editor of your local newspaper. Put together a little press release saying that you filed this verified complaint based on this allegation. Again, the same reasons of utilizing your state senator and representative to make sure Ohio EPA does a full and effective investigation and a satisfactory result. Use the media to do the same thing. Also, it helps educate your local community to know what's happening and what's going on. Once you file your verified complaint, there is a notice from Ohio EPA, but with a lot of notices that go out to out in the back pages of your local newspaper or on Ohio EPA's website, not everybody sees it that should see it. So coupling it with some media is important. Tweet it, post it, put it on Facebook. Again, just to make sure that your community members know that this is going on. And again, also it helps maybe show the importance to Ohio EPA that this isn't just a frivolous thing that you're throwing out in front of them. This is something that really impacts your community, and you want to make sure that everyone knows about it. And follow up with Ohio EPA. Again, your job here with this verified complaint, your duty is really to make sure that Ohio EPA has all the information to make a quick and thorough report and investigation. So follow up with them. Make sure that that they have all the information they need from your side. Sometimes they'll contact you for follow-up. Sometimes they won't, but you want to make sure that they have that information. So definitely follow up with them. And for that matter, you can follow up with us, with OEC. Again, we have filed a number of verified complaints. We have helped many people with their verified complaints. I personally, as attorney, like the verified complaint process. I wish other agencies in the state had something along those lines to allow the citizens and folks in local communities and local governments to really make sure that the bad actors are taking and violators are being held to the law, and that good actors stick by it by knowing that community members have a tool to enforce the law themselves through the Ohio EPA or through whatever agency may be impacted. So contact us. Check out OEC's Verified Complaint Handbook online. There's the link to that. It has a nice template that we use. Again, it's that bare bones nuts and bolts that I went over on background, standing, violation, and verification. It's really all you need. But if you need a template, that handbook shows that, and it goes over a lot of what I talked about here. Also, email or call one of us at OEC. Any of our experienced attorneys or policy staff members can help talk to you about whether this is something that a verified complaint would be useful. I will not, shall not, cannot provide legal representation or legal assistance, but as folks need it, we can answer questions that deal with verified complaints. Finally, I just want to remind everyone of some upcoming webinars and events that are dear to my heart. One, as I mentioned earlier, is the September 9th webinar for OEC's fracking mega bill. I, along with folks here at OEC, drafted a proactive slate of legislation that we think the state of Ohio needs to at least get us close to where we need to be in terms of protecting Ohio's community and as landowners from fracking here in Ohio. After 700 plus permits, we need to make sure that we have the right protections in place, at least moving forward. We'll talk about that mega bill proposal that OEC is coming out with there on September 9th. And on September 26th, our 10th anniversary celebration for the Ohio Environmental Law Center, the little piece of OEC that I direct, 5 to 7 p.m. There on the 26th here in Columbus. You can go to our calendar on the website to check out that and other events going on. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.